Good morning. Today I thought that I would talk to you a bit about why sometimes it's so difficult to meditate and why sometimes it's easier and how to proceed in both of those circumstances. So, do you want to know something that not a lot of people talk about? Spiritual advancement or enlightenment doesn't happen all at once and irrevocably. There are stages. It's a progression. It's, like walking a labyrinth. We are getting closer and closer and closer to the center at all times, even though sometimes we feel like we're going in the opposite direction, or sometimes it looks like we're hitting a dead end. But sure enough, we just keep walking it. And by that I mean, for instance, meditating every day, doing our spiritual practices every day. We are getting there. We're getting closer to the center. And sometimes we kind of level up. We come to a certain stage where something shifts and it's just easier to move forward. It's easier to sustain that level. And sometimes we just get glimpses, like tastes of what a higher level will feel like. And those are those epiphanies that just come out of nowhere, and you shake up how you perceive yourself and life and everything. But we can't hold on to that knowledge, We can't hold on to that level. For instance, I remember one time I had a really interesting practice. It was a lovely practice. It wasn't, fascinating, I suppose, but I would just get up in the morning, early in the morning, like 5 o'clock usually. And because I'm a morning person, it's not like I was forcing myself. But I would wake up about 5 o'clock or so, and then I would get up. And I'd go into the other room, and I would light a candle and read a little excerpt from the Upanishads. And then I would meditate with the candle. And I found that incredibly effective. I'm not sure what part of it was so powerful. I have often thought that it was reading the Upanishads, but I don't know. There were other factors. At any rate, one day I was sitting there doing my meditation, minding my own business, so to speak, and this flash of awareness came through to me, where I looked out I was living in this little cockroach-infested slum apartment in Montreal at the time. And the backyard, so to speak, was about the size of a small bedroom. And it was all asphalted. And over top of it, like virtually right over top of the yard, was this multi-lane highway spaghetti kind of thing. There were probably altogether, 10 or 12 lanes of traffic going at all times, even at 5 o'clock in the morning. And this one day I looked out at that, and I just saw and knew that it was all perfect. 100%, absolutely as it was meant to be, the best possible version. Like it was perfect. And that was an experience that stuck with me, and that's what epiphanies do. The memory never really fades, even if we can't hold on to the level of awareness. The memory of it never fades. And it was certainly new for me because I do not do well in cities or traffic or toxic air or all of that. So that was a real wake up for me, a huge wake up for me. and I couldn't hold on to it. So I've spent many years still practicing, working back up to that level of knowing on an everyday level, like or on a daily basis, reaching that level of enlightenment so that I can hold it, like integrate it and hold it. And that's what people don't say, you know. We talk about enlightenment as if it happens and then it's done. That's absolutely not the case. There are all these stages, as I said, but even so, you know, sometimes we slip back. And it is possible to slip back. It's never possible to go to, like, to return to a state of unknowing. But it is possible to, you know, the ego gets activated. And then we lose touch with those levels of awareness and stuff that we've reached, that energy level that we've reached. Temporarily. I mean, we can always come back, right? Like Rumi said, you know, I can't remember the exact quote, sadly, but it's something like, you know, fall 1,000 times, but when, you know, just step back up and come back. And that's what I was thinking this morning, because I was having a lot of trouble meditating. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, not to meditate. Actually, that's not true. It was about 6 o'clock. But I had to, there was some stuff I had to do first thing in the morning, and I was awake, and I just needed to get it done before things happened, before whatever. So I was up really early. I was working on my computer. And, you know, there's few things better for ego activation than being on a computer or working, for that matter, most jobs. And so my ego got really activated this morning. And then when I came back to meditate and then do this video practice, there was no meditation. Like it didn't want to happen. And that's really the difference, you know, between easy, most of the time. There's other factors, maybe like the sun activity or the lunar activity or whatever, but most of the time I think the difficulty that we find in meditation is when the ego is activated, it's a lot harder to meditate. And so I was thinking, okay, what will help me meditate when my ego is really activated? And that's some of the tips I've given you earlier, and some that will probably show up later, are tips to do when the ego is really activated and you can't even get to a place of, you know, of the deeper levels or the mental levels of clearing the mind. And the one that worked, and the one that always seems to work if nothing else works, that I fall back on, is mantra. My favorite way of doing that is I have a harmonium over there in the corner. And using a harmonium to sing a mantra is particularly effective because the vibration is so strong and physical. And, you know, it really brings you into the body, into the present, into the moment of mantra, into the vibration of mantra. And I guess I should define mantra, because when I say mantra, I'm not talking about the slang that's become of just something that's repeated over and over. I mean a true mantra, which is a certain, which is essentially sacred syllables with the name of the divine, a name of the divine. And what it actually encompasses, it embodies the very vibration of the divine. So it's not just that we're thinking of the divine, although that's important. It's not just that we're opening to the divine or calling the divine, although those are important. It's actually integrating into our physical bodies and into our energy fields the vibration of that divinity. So mantra is a very specific practice, and it's a very powerful practice. And it has been said that in the Kali Yuga, this age that we are in, the Iron Age, the dark age of spirituality, that we're just, in fact, coming out of, but we're still just on the threshold, more or less. Mantra is said to be the best practice for the Kali Yuga. It's like the boat to carry you across the Kali Yuga. And I think that that's why, is when the ego is super activated and meditation of other kinds is very, very difficult, mantra is so powerful and so effective and it feels so wonderful. Like, it's so fulfilling, so satisfying. When I was at the ashram, I did a mantra practice, a very intensive mantra practice for much of the time that I was there, and I actually found that instead of eating dinner, I got to a place where I couldn't eat after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was too disruptive to my body. My body was doing other things. And the mantra practice that I did instead of eating supper felt literally like it was my nourishment. And anything else I took in was too much. So, I mean, I've had a lot of fascinating experiences in the mantra practice. Just a lot of really clear signs coming through, it's like the goddess is right there with me in the mantra. And so it's one of my favorite practices of all time. And I was going to chat a little bit about other practices for the hard times, but this seems like enough for today, and we're over time already. So, see if you can't try a mantra of some form next time you're really having difficulty meditating. And even if you can't say it out loud, the mantra helps, but bringing in the power of sound vibration is even more effective if you can. And with that, I will wish you the best of the lovely day, and I will chat with you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Blessed be.